I still remember the exact moment everything in my family fell apart. It wasn't during the arguments over my father's estate. It wasn't when my oldest son stopped returning my calls. It wasn't even when my own daughter looked me in the eyes and told me I was imagining things. No. It happened on a quiet Saturday afternoon while I was sitting on my back porch with my 8-year-old grandson, Ethan. He was drawing dinosaurs with colored pencils, his tongue sticking out in concentration the way little kids do when they're determined to get every detail right. I was pretending to read the newspaper, though my mind had been somewhere else for months. Without looking up, Ethan asked me one simple question. "Grandpa, why do Mommy and Uncle Ryan say your brother is my real great-grandpa?" The newspaper slipped right out of my hands. For a second, I honestly thought I'd misheard him. "What did you say, buddy?" He looked up with those innocent blue eyes that had always reminded me of my late wife. "I asked why they say Uncle Daniel is really your brother, but he's also supposed to be my real great-grandpa." Then he shrugged. "They said I shouldn't ask you because it makes you sad." The air left my lungs. Every sound around me disappeared. The birds, the wind, the traffic, everything. Because Ethan had just repeated a sentence that could only exist if someone inside my family had been hiding the truth for over 40 years. A truth I had spent my entire life believing. And suddenly, none of it made sense anymore. I wish I could tell you that I stood up right then and demanded answers. I didn't. Instead, I smiled at my grandson. "You know what, buddy? Why don't we finish that dinosaur first?" He grinned. "Okay. Children don't realize when they've just shattered someone's world. Adults do." I watched him coloring while every memory I'd ever trusted started rearranging itself inside my head. Looking back now, I realized the lie didn't begin that afternoon. It started decades before I was even old enough to understand what families were capable of hiding. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 68 years old. I spent 37 years as a firefighter in Columbus, Ohio. I buried my wife, Susan, 7 years ago, after cancer stole her from me far too soon. We raised 2 children together, Emily, who's now 42, Ryan, who's 39. Between them, they gave me 3 wonderful grandchildren, or at least, that's what I believed. Family had always been everything to me. I grew up believing that blood mattered, that loyalty mattered, that the people sitting around your Thanksgiving table would always protect one another. It's amazing how long a person can believe something simply because they've never been given a reason not to. Growing up, my parents were respected people in our neighborhood. My father, Robert Carter, owned a successful hardware store. My mother, Margaret, volunteered at church almost every weekend. People loved them. They were the kind of couple everyone pointed to as proof that hard work and family values still existed. I believed it too. There were only 2 boys in our house, me and my older brother Daniel. Daniel was 5 years older than me. When you're little, 5 years feels like an entire lifetime. He taught me how to ride a bike. He showed me how to throw a baseball. He sneaked me candy when Mom wasn't looking. Whenever bullies bothered me at school, Daniel somehow always found out. He'd walk me home without saying much. The bullying usually stopped the next day. I thought he was the greatest big brother anyone could ask for. Looking back, there were things I never questioned, like why Mom seemed nervous whenever strangers mentioned Daniel's birth, or why there wasn't a single baby picture of him anywhere in the house. There were hundreds of photographs of me, birthday cakes, first day of school, Christmas mornings. But Daniel's childhood seemed to begin around age 6. Whenever I asked why, Mom would smile. The older albums were ruined in a flood. I accepted that answer. Kids accept almost anything when it comes from their parents. As we grew older, Daniel became quieter. He left home right after high school. He moved almost 300 miles away to Tennessee and rarely came back except for Christmas. Dad always acted disappointed. Mom always cried after he left. I figured every family had its own strange traditions. Life moved on. I married Susan when I was 26. She was the kind of woman who made every room feel warmer just by walking into it. She laughed loudly, loved old country songs, burned almost every batch of cookies she ever baked, and somehow they still tasted better than anyone else's. She used to tell me something that I never fully appreciated until after she was gone. Families don't fall apart all at once, Mike. They crack a little at a time. I would laugh. "You're reading too many mystery novels." She'd smile. "No, I just pay attention." Back then, I thought she was talking about other families. Never ours. When Dad died at 82, everything changed. His will surprised everyone. Instead of splitting everything equally, he left nearly 80% of the estate to me. Daniel received only a small piece of land outside Nashville. Nobody understood why, especially Daniel. He didn't argue, didn't yell, didn't threaten lawyers. He simply folded the papers, looked at Dad's coffin one last time, then walked away before the burial ended. Mom watched him leave through tears. I remember asking her quietly, should somebody go after him? She grabbed my wrist so tightly it actually hurt. No. Her voice barely came out. Let him go. At the time, I thought she was overwhelmed with grief. Now, I know she was terrified. For years after that funeral, Daniel hardly spoke to anyone. He ignored birthdays, skipped holidays. Even when Susan passed away, he only sent flowers with a short note. "I'm sorry for your loss." No signature. Nothing else. Emily hated him. Ryan called him selfish. I defended him. People handle pain differently. I honestly believe that, because I still thought he was angry over money. I had no idea money had almost nothing to do with it. About 6 months after Susan's funeral, I started cleaning out boxes in the attic. Most of it was junk. Old Christmas decorations, broken lamps, school projects the kids had forgotten. Then I found a dusty cardboard box with my mother's handwriting. Private. Do not throw away. Inside were dozens of old letters tied together with faded blue ribbon. Most were ordinary. Bills, recipes, birthday cards. But at the bottom, there was an envelope with no stamp, no address. Only one name written across the front. Daniel. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The letter inside had never been mailed. The paper had turned yellow with age. The handwriting belonged to my mother. "My sweet boy, I know you'll never forgive me for asking this of you. One day Michael may learn the truth. And if that day comes, I pray he understands why we made this impossible choice. We were trying to save our family, even if it meant breaking yours." The rest of the page had been torn away. My hands began to shake. What truth? What impossible choice? What family? I searched the box for the missing pages. Nothing. I checked every envelope twice. Nothing. Someone had deliberately removed the rest. That night, I drove to my mother's house. She was 89 by then. Her memory wasn't perfect, but she still recognized everyone. She poured us tea, asked about the grandchildren, talked about the weather. I waited until she sat down. Then I placed the letter on the kitchen table. The color drained from her face. "Where did you get that?" "The attic." She stared at it for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "I thought I burned that." Burned it? Why would she want to destroy a letter to her own son? "What truth were you talking about?" She didn't answer. "What impossible choice?" Silence. "Mum?" She slowly reached for the envelope. Her hands trembled harder than mine. "Some questions." She swallowed. "Only create pain." I leaned forward. "I think I'm old enough to decide that." She looked at me with tears gathering in her eyes. Then she said something I will never forget. "If Daniel ever tells you," she stopped. "Believe him." I frowned. "What does that mean?" She stood up so suddenly the chair nearly fell over. "Go home, Michael. I'm tired." "Mom?" "Go home." She wouldn't say another word. Not that night. Not the next week. Not the next month. Every time I brought it up, she'd change the subject. Eventually, I stopped asking. Life has a strange way of convincing you that unanswered questions can wait until tomorrow. The problem is, tomorrow doesn't always come. 3 months later, my mother suffered a severe stroke. She survived, but she never spoke another complete sentence again. Whatever secret she'd carried for decades went silent with her, or so I thought, until that Saturday afternoon when my little grandson looked up from his dinosaur drawing and unknowingly asked the question that would force every buried lie into the light. I didn't sleep that night. Around 2 in the morning, I walked into my garage and opened an old filing cabinet I hadn't touched in years. Inside were family records, birth certificates, insurance papers, faded photographs, and documents my father had carefully organized. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. I just knew I couldn't ignore what Ethan had said. As I pulled out one folder after another, something caught my eye. A thin envelope marked with my father's handwriting. Keep sealed, unless absolutely necessary. My heartbeat quickened. I stared at it for nearly a minute before slowly sliding my finger beneath the flap. Inside was only one photograph. Nothing else. It showed my father standing beside a woman I had never seen before. She was holding a newborn baby. My father had one hand resting gently on the child's blanket. On the back of the photograph, written in faded ink, were 8 words that made my blood run cold. The day everything changed forever. 1963. I turned the picture over again, my hands trembling, because 1963 was the year my brother Daniel was born.